First of all, I would like to congratulate the organizers of this event. You braved the challenge. Sabi nga ni NP, ang dami daw, no? From all the calamities that you can name, na-encounter niya together, especially today that the typhoon is coming towards the Visayas. But we must always be alert, no, in informing our communities, our respective communities, to be careful of the incoming threat of the typhoon. I heard that Cebu is badly affected, and maybe we as the professional group for environmental planners should lead the way in ensuring that this will not happen to our communities, no? The flooding, the affected communities. We should always be prepared for events like this and make our communities resilient towards calamities. To share with everybody, the Professional Regulatory Board of Environmental Planning has made representation already with the Department of Public Works and Highways, one of the most controversial national agency right now, no? So why do we make representation? We observe that DPWH is wanting in environmental planners. So we, together with the help of Commissioner Conrad Onglao, we made a special letter to Secretary Vince Dizon to request that DPWH start looking on the creation of a special division in planning and to install environmental planners in decision-making positions, not just sitting on the drawing board, no? So kailangan na nandoon tayo in policy-making, decision-making, because our expertise is very much important in ensuring that physical and spatial infrastructure in our country are properly planned and communities around this infrastructure are well protected. Yun po nangyayari ngayon. Ang flood control projects natin is not only the damage to the infrastructure but to the communities around them. And that is the worst scenario that we would like to look into if ever it happens. So, for the current updates on the Professional Regulatory Board, we are happy to inform everyone that magyabang na konti, the PRB for Environmental Planning has been named as the top 5 regulatory board in the PRC during the last OPIA Award. And hindi namin po alam, we were caught by surprise with Honorable Cruz that we were also named as the top 5. Hindi ko alam kung pang ilan, pero top 5 kami. And that is actually a good sign out of 46 board. And despite that, the Board for Environmental Planning still young, no? Naungusan natin ang ibang regulatory board. And we are happy to inform everyone that we already migrated to the computer-based licensure examination as of the last examination. And the feedback from the examinees was very good, that they say that the licensure procedure was a lot easier, no, without the need for shading papers. And we are also happy that we also complied with the mandate of President Bongbong Marcos that passing rate for licensure exam should not go lower than 85%. We got 92%, and upon our item analysis, we attributed that, number 1, to the new tables of specifications that we made, which is very a good guidelines for all examinees. And this is aligned with the curriculum that they are taking right now. And hindi na yung suntok sa buwan ang mga questions. So, sa mga new passers, new takers, mga relatives niyo na gustong mag-take ng ENP, huwag na kayong matatakot kasi wala na yung mga trivia questions na hindi mo alam kung saan nanggaling, di ba? I was one of those who took the exam before in 2002. And yeah, there were questions that were never discussed in the classroom. So ngayon, we made sure that what is being tested are those that are practiced in the school or teach in the school. No? So very aligned na tayo. So ang gusto yata ng ating president is hindi masasayang ating mga graduates. So nag-effort tayo mag-aral, dapat mabigyan sila ng chance to practice. And at this point, sabi nga ni NP, we are in the era of disruption. I would say the ENPs are now on the crossroads because number one, last year we planted the seed of unification, and we are seeing the seed growing slowly. There are still a lot of challenges to be done. No, we cannot avoid that, but I think we have to work together, the board, the PIEP, the regular, the ordinary environmental planners in the community. We should all work together in making sure that our profession will be known to the nation. Now, the importance of the work of an environmental planner still needs a lot of promotion. The Honorable Corazon Cruz is now embarking on preparation of a promo collateral under the Career Development Special Program of PRC or the CDSP. And we need contributions from everyone who can give us amazing or stunning pictures about the planning profession, which we will put into the brochure. The picture should not be taken online. Bawal yan. Meron tayong mga copyright law. We want original pictures. We want pictures that depict the life of the Filipino people and how environmental planners contribute to the resiliency of our communities. Not just the product, but the process has to be presented in the brochure. So kailangan natin papakita ang mga nagtatrabahong ENP when we do public consultation, when we do workshop, and when we do gatherings like this. Almost all of these, we should be proud of showing it to the nation that we are one of the most important professions in the built environment. Kailangan natin pang mag-promote, no? So each one of us, make sure that you make an impact in your respective communities. Make sure your presence is felt. Whatever small projects that you do, make sure that you are known to work as an environmental planner. Let's not just do our work based on the needs of clients. We work for the good of our communities. We are not just stewards of the environment. We are the stewards of the future generation. Yung hindi natin na-attain during our lifetime dito, make sure na ibibigay natin sa next generation. Di ba ganun din ang mga parents, di ba? Gusto ninyong maibigay sa mga anak ninyo ang hindi niyo na-enjoy during your lifetime. So we should not just do paperworks, but we should plan for a creative and livable nation. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of the 3-day National Convention. Let's maximize the event to learn, to network with each other, and to help unify again the organization. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Michael T. Ab. A very inspiring message. It is very inspiring that as a tourism officer, I believe I need to be part of this beautiful family, this purpose-driven family, Sir Jason. Hopefully, in the future, I'll be part of you guys. Alright, so at this point, let's get down to business, ladies and gentlemen. Plenary 1. Laying the foundations of environmental planning amid challenges in the natural environment, technology, and urban governance. Our first topic is metropolitan issues and rapid urbanization will be discussed by our first resource speaker. He is the president of DCPA, formerly NPraxis, and former National Strategic Advisor for UN Habitat, a licensed architect and environmental planner. He specializes in urban and regional planning with international credentials from the London School of Economics and UP Diliman. He currently serves as Global President of the International Metropolitan Fellowship and NCR South Chapter President of PIEP. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our first resource speaker, Architect Mark Roland De Castro, EMP, member PIEP.
Hello. Maayong buntag sa inyong tanan. It's great to be back in Dumaguete. No? This was our second honeymoon vacation in Dumaguete. Kaya sayang, na-cancel yung flight ng aking better half. But anyway, I'm here. So, sige. So allow me to share. And I was supposed to be the second presenter, but okay na din. So allow me to be mobile. So the original title of my presentation is Beyond Metropolitan Issues and Rapid Urbanization. Yan. I added the line, the third group. Yan. I will explain later. So Beyond Metropolitan Issues and Rapid Urbanization. Sige, next slide. So I dive in na. Happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation. And hope I can finish within my time allotment. Sige. So I'm part of the International Metropolitan Fellowship. So this is where we gather information, the metropolises around the world, global. So we have 7 chapters. I head the Austronesia chapter, so which handles Southeast Asia, of course the Philippines. So we have from Latin, from Arabia, from different parts of the world. So I have a visual of what's happening sa labas. So our headquarters is in Madrid, in Madrid, Spain. Sige, next slide. So recently, last October, World Metropolitan Day, we launched our startup. So the Metro X Labs, to understand what is this metropolis, what is happening globally. So part of the foundations of what we are trying to understand, we gather the mentors from around the world. So of course, Pedro Ortiz, based in Spain, is one of the founders of the International Metropolitan Institute. I also have si Olivier Crozier, who's also involved with the Nusantara development in Indonesia, the new capital. So with me also is Alain Bertu, he's a senior metropolitan economist. So he wrote the book Order Without Design. So I highly recommend that for planners. Really good book. Of course, my mentor, one of my mentors, Professor Ernesto Cerote, Jorge Alonso Cortez, and Wafa Diri. So we have these are I'm sitting at the shoulder of giants, when I present this. So hopefully I'm able to share the gist of it. Next slide, please. All right. So these are the contents. What I'll go through. So I divided it into 5. The first one, the global state of metropolises, really exciting what's happening around the world and really challenging also. So I like to take off yung sinabi ni NP, National President, yung disruption. I think this is fundamentally a disruption to our profession. I will share later on. The second is the Philippine state of metropolises, examples of metropolitan governance structures and metropolis arrangement or integration. This is a key question, which I would like to dive in later. And last, the economic and tourism leverage of an integrated metropolis. That is a very key term now in terms of metropolitan development. Next slide, please. So this is fresh off the shelf. Just last week, Professor Cerote launched his second version of the, I'm sure a lot of planners, no, Bible ito, when you were taking the exam, Professor Cerote's book, he launched his second version, second edition, just last week. And he added a chapter, a full chapter on metropolitan planning, which I will share later on, no? Very, very fresh off the shelf. So I'd like to focus now on what he said on that book. The social history of the 20th century cannot be fully understood without taking into account the emergence of a metropolis. The metropolis is not just a larger city. No? That's a key term, no? That's a key phrase. But in qualitative terms, it is a new form of settlement. We are dealing with a new animal here. No? It's not just the city, but really a new animal, no? A new planning platform, a planning form settlement. No? Next slide, please. Okay, so let me go through very quickly, no, visual, no, some of what is happening globally. No? Next slide. London. Londonium, no? Formerly, Roman London was the capital of Roman Britain. So 2,000 years ago, no, if you can see the upper portion, it started 1800 very walkable, no? And then around 1900s, with the steam train expanded. They tried to control it with the green belt, but right now their challenge is it has grown beyond its borders. Next slide. Mumbai, India, 2006 today. Next slide. I will go through fast dito, no, because maraming slide. Dubai, 2001 today. Next slide. Dubai, 1993 to 2020. That's just a span of 20 years now. Next slide. Next slide. Dubai again. So 2000. In span of 25 years. No, we're building massive. No, what we built 2000 for 2,000 years, we're building 20 years. No, that's the speed of development. Next slide. So yeah, let's go fast. Hong Kong, 1964 today. Next slide. KL, Kuala Lumpur, 1990, 2021. So that's the site of the Petronas Towers, no? Twin Towers. Next slide. Oh, can you guess? Anyone can guess what this is? 1945 today. Philippines? This is the largest metropolis in the world. So this is just a spot, Tokyo. This is Tokyo, Japan. No? 1945. Next slide. Metro Manila. Map on the left shows the original map no 1935. It shows yan yung mga hacienda. Very, very raw land. No? Left, the others, that's how it is now. It's growing with the reclamation. No? It's emerging, massive urbanization. Next slide. Shanghai, 1994-2021. Same view. If you can see the building, in just a span of almost 30 years, no? Massive. Next slide. Shenzhen, China, a former fishing village, 1980s. No, kapapanganak ko pa lang nun. In today, it's a global hub of innovation and technology. No, halos kaedad ko lang. Grabe ang development. Next slide. The empire of megacities, China. No, if you can see, no, China is developing metropolitan areas. No, at the speed of almost daily or weekly. No, they have developed. So you can see, Shenzhen. Yan, ito sa may baba lang siya. That's just Shenzhen. Yan. Chengdu, so massive. Next slide, please. So I go back now. Uruk. That's the world's first city. 2,000 years ago. Population 50,000 to 80,000. That's the seat. That's the middle, the blue one. No, that's the world's first city. Next slide. Today, total world population 8.2 billion, no, with more than 1,900 cities. with more than 300,000 population, no? And it's growing daily. Next slide. So the UN Habitat now created a publication, the Global State of Metropolises. So according to UN Habitat, in 2020 there are 1,900 metropolises with 300,000 inhabitants. So that's 1/3 of the global population. 1/3 of the global population live within metropolises. Next slide. By 2035, that's 15 years, or that's 10 years from now, it will be two-thirds of the population will live in metropolises. Next slide, please. So just to highlight the definition, really, because this is a new form of settlement, ang daming definitions na lumilitaw. For UN Habitat, the official definition of metropolitan area is a city and its commuting zone, which consists of suburban, peri-urban, and rural areas economically and socially linked to the city. An approach supported by the metropolitan authorities and experts and the World Urbanization Prospect. So that's already an official definition. But definitions of cities, urban agglomerations, and metropolitan areas vary depending on the city, depending on the country. For us at the International Metropolitan Fellowship, our definition is slightly different. We believe that metropolises are a group of urban units, city siya, that is connected by a commuting zone. Our magic number is 40 minutes. So if that can be reached within 40 minutes by rail, that is the edge of the metropolitan area. Next slide. So a new metropolis will arise every 2 weeks in the next 15 years. That's how rapid urbanization is happening globally. Next slide. And so you can see 3 major metropolises here: London, Hong Kong, and New York. No? Governing cities becomes more complex and less efficient when city administrations have limited power, where urban footprints extend beyond the administrative boundaries. So if you can see London, the red mark, that's the boundary, that's jurisdiction. The gray, naglumalabas na siya, no, outside the boundary. So wala nang power, no, na di mo na siya Apart from that, the population, no, of course, moves out in and out of London. So I was in London, I think 3 years ago. I can just imagine, no, yung population pag may office pagka morning talagang dagsaan, no? Dagsaan yung tao. The good thing about London is may rail connectivity, no? In just 30 minutes lalabas ka na safely, no? Sa atin dito paglabas mo sa work mo, siguro 2 hours more, no? Sige, next slide. Asia Pacific, so this is the almost a century of Asia, no? So lahat 56% of the world's metropolitan population will be in Asia. The development of metropolis nasa atin in Asia. Next slide. In the Philippines, no, based on UN Habitat definition, there are 32 emerging metropolises. Yan. So let me go through each one. Next slide, please. So ito siya, the HUCs. So Davao, this is outside, no, outside Metro Manila, no. You have Davao, Cebu, Zamboanga, Antipolo, CDO, no, all comprising of talaga. You have Bacoor, General Santos, SJDM, Bacolod, Calamba, Iloilo, Angeles, Lapu-Lapu, Imus, Rodriguez Rizal, Mandaue, Santa Rosa, and so forth. So if your list is here, you have to be prepared now. No? How do you manage an expanding population? Next slide. Okay, Philippine State of Metropolises. Next slide. So let me focus on 2 pain points. No? Number 1 is traffic. No? Kaya kami lumabas ng Metro Manila, namin Santa Rosa, Laguna. This is the daily pain, no, of each and everyone in Metro Manila. Alam na natin, I will not expand this, but there is a study, no? 4 days and 7 hours just sitting in traffic are lost per year. So imagine 5 days, nasa loob ka lang ng sasakyan mo. When you could have been with your son, when you could have been doing some important personal work, it's 5 days, no? Next slide. So let me go to ito very controversial, just I think a couple of weeks ago, the case of Metro Manila flooding. So I had the Metro X event with Professor Cerote. We'll launch the video soon. But talaga, we had a long discussion with Professor Cerote. So I condensed it. Metro Manila is solving the flooding based on the limits of its powers. The responsibility for regional planning is national government. What he's saying is, the local, within the national capital region, flooding comes from rain, no? And then outside, it comes from the runoff, no? The rain and the runoff. So integrated, magkasama yan. The problem is, if you consider Metro Manila as part of the national government, since officials are appointed as Metro Manila itself needs extraterritorial powers, no, to address, no, hindi lang siya drainage issue, but watershed, no, we're all familiar with the watershed approach. Kakabit yan. So the suggestion of Professor Cerote, there has to be more of a local regional integration. Again, integration. No? I will repeat that more often than as much as I can. Next slide. Yeah. This is a map of the Philippines. This was taken from this Sustainable Metropolitan Program. So let me take a word from Professor Cerote again. From his book, the traditional urban analysis that focuses on a single city is no longer adequate nor appropriate. Kulang na yon. This is due to the fact that the factors that drive the centrifugal growth of cities have created a new urban form. It's the metropolis. Ito na yung kailangan na natin makipag-uusap cross LGU, no? Hindi lang sa kapitbahay mo, beyond your kapitbahay. Next slide. So, it is larger in that it is not just a downtown. I highlight later, this is related to the definition of the International Metropolitan Fellowship, which we believe is the definition of the metropolis. It is not just a downtown. It's more like a collection of towns. And it plays a more commanding role, no? Economic, political, cultural. So, that's the idea, no? That's the visual of a metropolis. The difference now is the territorial governance. Sanay tayo when per LGU side, okay, we talk to the departments, no? Go work together yan, city level, let's do a project, flood control, whatever, no? But if you're talking about metropolitan planning, metropolis, you're talking to mayors. So iba yung language niyan. You're talking to the cross jurisdiction. So one of the things we encountered when we were doing a Metro Hackathon in Cebu, the challenge ngayon, sino yung magkukumpas? No? Because you have the HUC, you have the province, tapos you have the different cities and municipalities. Paano magbabalas nung integration? Next slide. So this is taken also from Professor Cerote, Metro Manila. So what he did, he created a sort of a diagram, what a metropolis looks like. So you have the core city, the expanded core, the metro periphery, and the metro fringe. Yan. So for Metro Manila, his proposal, of course, the expanded core, composed of Manila, Caloocan, Quezon City, San Juan, etc. And then you have the metro periphery, the usual national capital region. What is different is the metro fringe. Kasama yan. Metro Manila extends up to Bulacan, Rizal, Laguna, Cavite. In the International Metropolitan Fellowship, we did a metro plan for our internal study. What we figured was Metro Manila should extend all the way to La Union, all the way to Laguna, Cavite. Yan yung governance ng Metro Manila. Currently, the MMDA is in jurisdiction of course, the 17 cities and municipalities. Next slide, please. Yan. So, this is the DSUD Sustainable Metropolitan Development Program, which was drafted on the sector plan. So, the goal is to draw benefits from metropolitanization in the country and agglomerations by providing guidance in a sustainable urbanization and settlements development. So the challenge is, dito si Ma'am Janet, no? The challenge is, itong key components, policy and guidance for the development of network settlements. I don't know if there is an update. guidelines on vertical and horizontal coordination, guidelines on the design and development of infrastructure facilities to support regional markets and service centers, expansion of MMDA scope from Metro Manila into Mega Manila, strategy for integrated urban economy, and the creation of a Metropolitan Urban Development Housing Renewal Authority. So I don't know the updates right now, but this is a good list of things that we can do. Next slide, please. Okay. May mga metro plans na, no, initiated by World Bank and different agencies. Metro Iloilo, they already have the 2020 to 2040. Next slide. Metro Cagayan de Oro, Metro Cagayan de Misamis na siya. No? So, so they already applied, no, thanks to Architect Ian Pimia, who applied yung study ng International Metropolitan Fellowship, no, the reticular matrix over the Metro Cagayan de Misamis. Next slide, please. Metro Bacolod. Next slide. Yeah. So meron ng metro plans. Examples of metropolitan government, how do you implement those plans, those metro plans? Next slide. So let me just look at global. Ano ba yung best practice? So this is a list of countries with their metropolitan body. No, for example, Japan, Tokyo Metropolitan Government, which I was able to visit. Now I'll share with you later. France, Germany, Poland, no, Metropolis, Mexico, Greece. So the key takeaway is metropolitan scale institutions are essential to managing urban growth, resilience, and competitiveness. If you can see all of this with metropolitan body, they are part of the top 100 economies of the world. That's how powerful a properly integrated metropolitan plan and development is. Next slide, please. So, key metropolitan observation, 70% of OECD metropolitan areas have formal governance bodies. No? Forms vary, statutory, voluntary, coordinated, coordination-based. Functions often include planning, transport, waste, water, fiscal powers and accountability differ by country. The metropolitan administrative bodies play critical role, of course, regional coordination and so forth. While governance models differ across nations, the trend is clear. The trend is clear. Metropolitan scale institutions are essential, no, to managing the future of moving forward, no, of our next slide, please, our country. So, Professor Serrato shared this to me now when we had the case of Metro Toronto. So these are the functions on the first column. Yeah, water supply, sewage, etc. The second column is ano ba yung scope ng Metro Toronto, no? And then the third, ito naman yung scope ng component municipalities. So mayroong different scales of jurisdiction. So for example, water supply. So Metro Toronto, they are in charge of the construction and maintenance of pump stations, treatment plants, so forth. I think this is similar naman to MMDA. For municipalities, local distribution systems naman siya. For the roads, the designation of highways, ito very critical at the metro level, no? Kasi highways will tend to move beyond, no, the cities. Sila dapat yung nagkakasano, highways, metropolitan roads, I would add here railways. No? When I went to Bangkok and London, and they have metropolitan plan talaga. No? Doon talaga sila naka-focus. Education, health, and welfare. So next slide, please. So possible siya mag-align. We talk of nature-based solutions. When we talk of nature-based solutions, that's integrated then. No? Hindi mo siya pwedeng treat as an island, no? City, municipality. The best scale, we believe, for a net nature-based solution is the metropolitan scale, no? Because of the jurisdiction, it covers multiple municipalities, multiple cities, multiple bodies, no? From the upland to the lowland, especially some of the metropolitan boundaries. Next slide, please. Okay, this is a very tricky question na. Arrangement or integration? Yeah, next slide. So we had a very lengthy conversation then with Professor Serrato. I was surprised. No? I didn't really know about this. So the Constitution, our Constitution, no, The jurisdiction of the Metropolitan Authority that will thereby be created shall be limited only to basic services requiring coordination, no implementation. So in effect, of course, it will be passed by Congress, etc. Strictly conditions of their creation ensure local autonomy and preserve democratic consent is obtained. Okay, yan. Next slide. The problem is, no, according to Professor Serrote, it is unfortunate, no, that there is it's unfortunate that close opportunity to create more metropolitan areas. When you talk of metropolitan areas here, integrated siya. Di lang siya arrangement. The Constitution does not encourage the creation of metropolitan areas. It only states metropolitan arrangement. The 1987 Constitution is strongly reactive. Dito na pumapasok yung para meron tayong trauma from the past. Reacting to the experience under martial law. Under martial law, Metro Manila Commission was created and ran the metropolis as one big government. So that was a sneak peek, no, of a metropolitan body. Municipalities lost legislative powers. I even asked, so yung local government code naman, sir, does encourage the arrangement. The local government code, of course, follows the Constitution. There has to be a topic on metropolitanization in the local government code. So hindi kami natapos, almost an hour kami nagdi-discuss ni Professor Serrote, baka hopefully you can document that. Next slide, please. So, I present is options. Yeah, I shared some options. Option 1, annexation or amalgamation. So, sige, expand na natin, sama na natin yung Laguna, Bulacan. This process empowers the central city to extend its boundaries to embrace the surrounding localities, causing the latter to lose their political identity and power to become a mere district of the core city. So yun ang disadvantage nito. Option 2, which we support, no, with the IMF, is the integration or the incorporation. Here, the suburban localities retain their political identities. Meron ka pa rin, you will retain, no, you will retain your power. But agree to be co-opted into a relationship with the core city based on functional specialization and interdependencies. So under this option, the appropriate structure is somewhat medyo complicated nga siya because babalik tayo sa Constitution. Next slide. 3 options based on integration. Option 1, metro government. Yan, ito talaga yung mabigat, no? Japan did this way back in 1950s. They are ahead of us, no? Almost 70 years na. They've learned the metropolitan. Tayo, nagsisimula pa lang tayo, no? Option 2B, elective regional body, or alternative C, alternate administration by the central or national government. Yan. Dito nagkakaroon ng politics. Next slide. So I'll quickly run through, no, all of these options. 2A, metropolitan government. This is the ideal. No? This form of metropolitan governance treats the metropolis as a geographic political unit. No? Mayroon siyang office by a single government that partakes of the nature of a public corporation. The metro government consolidates the significant political powers of the local government. The challenge with this, in Metro Manila, 17 mayors, 17 kings, yan, no? Who will, local officials continue to hold office and the geographical boundaries of local units are kept intact. However, component local government units do not exercise legislative or policy-making powers. It should be the metro body. Sila yung may mata nung They serve as mere conduits for the delivery of government services and as listening posts to collect feedback. Again, the disclaimer is, this is an evolving, please take this with a grain of salt because really, this is a new form of discipline into metropolitan planning. Next slide, please. Second option, elective regional body. Yan, medyo less political and less complicated. This type of structure can be adopted if incorporation or integration is decided upon as the mode of sharing powers and functions among the local government units. So medyo closer to what we have now. As an example, sa Metro Toronto and Greater London governments, each component LGU is represented with the Metro Toronto Council. Similar to Clark, they have a Metro Clark Advisory Council. Ng pandemic, very busy sila. Council members elect the Metro Manager. Ayan. Ito ngayon yung key. a metro manager. Sino yung... Kasi itong challenge kasi, the power of a metro manager, managing that scale of the metropolis, may political challenge siya, because national government will allow you much power, and that's the challenge. Yeah, next slide. Option C, medyo less controversial. Dito na lang tayo magsimula pataas. It's based on, of course, NCR. The rationale behind this arrangement stems from the fact that nearly all national government departments and agencies operate in the metropolis. Imagine, ang daming tinitimpla nila ng Janet dyan. That in delivery of essential services, the local government is often dependent on these national government agencies, funding-wise, flood control, etc. But each one of these agencies has its own set of programs. Ito yung problem. When I was in Cebu last, when we were doing the Metro Hackathon, si Sir Yumi, he's not here, kinakwento niya the lost opportunity of building a rail connectivity to the airport. So he was trying to kausapin yung DOTR tsaka yung DPWH. Hindi nagkita. So what we ended up is a bridge na that's the missed opportunity, the rail connectivity. Each of these agencies has its own set of programs. So what is needed is a coordinated machinery that will consolidate these agency programs, capital budgets, and arrange this into a system of priorities that responds to the needs of the area. Hindi yung porke Pinoy's out, tayo doon. I recently was in Montalban, they were building yung drainage doon. So, the you-know-who, yung kumagawa doon, so ginawa yung sa dulo, concrete. Pagdating sa gitna, rubberized. So kaya ngayon, dinadaanan parang river. Next slide. There has to be a plan. So this was there's this initiative by one of the congressmen. He filed the bill, 3584, the creation of a Metro Manila Regional Administration. I don't know where it is now, but we would like to, I have a copy of the draft, hopefully. Next slide. Yeah. So, again, from Professor Cerote, given the weak structure for policy making implementation at the metropolitan level, coupled with the increasing assertiveness of the component local government units under the local government code. Nothing against local government is really, it has achieved the devolution. But the challenge is any vision of a properly planned megacity under a unified governance structure is nowhere in sight. So sir, what do we do? Next slide. So I hope I still have time. So, economic and tourism leverage of an integrated metropolis. This is what we lack, I'm sure all of you travel abroad, When you see, pagbaba mo ng airport, rail agad, tapos pagdating kung saan mo gusto pumunta, doon ka. Tapos pagdating mo doon sa gusto mo puntahan, may iyak ka na lang. Bakit tayo wala nito? Sakit na. So, next slide. So, this is a graph, recently by a study. We are now nasa bottom 4 na tayo. Malapit na tayo ma-overtake ni Laos, Myanmar, I think Cambodia will overtake us soon. A country that does not know how to manage its metropolises, does not know to make them productive and internationally competitive, is destined to be dominated by superior metropolises. That is the sad fact. The world's future is metropolitan. Each successful economy has a dominant, globally integrated metropolis. Next slide. Japan. Metropolises multiply tourism power. So countries with strong metropolitan regions, yung infrastructure integrated hindi siya widow. May plan talaga, interconnectivity. Thailand, Malaysia, Vietnam, and Indonesia leverage metropolitan system for global tourism. As a body, ano ba yung market? So they work together, consolidated. Ito yung dapat natin prepare. The Philippines lag reflects the absence of a globally competitive metro engine. That is I think the next slide. Yan. So ito, I recently had a visitor from UK. So, where are you? I mean Manila. What? Manila or Metro Manila? I mean Makati. You're in Metro Manila. So, side fact, So, Manila lacks efficient transport integration and unified tourism branding. limited inter-island connectivity, no? No strong secondary metropolis comparable to Bangkok. And sa Bangkok, Metro Bangkok, I think they learned from MMDA, but if you go to Metro Bangkok now, talagang they have evolved. No? That's why they were able to create, yung mga rails. Metropolitan governance, fragmentation, constraints national tourism potential. That is our problem. That is, next slide. Indonesia, Jakarta's role, no, in Bali. So they have integrated anchors connectivity, multimodal, multinodal. They have the Trans-Jakarta. Next slide. Metro KL, one of my favorite places. If you go there, hop on, hop off, bili ka lang ng single ticket. Anywhere you go, fix your itinerary. Gusto ko history ngayon. Gusto ko mag-shopping. Imagine, no? Imagine, that's the hop on, hop off system. Next slide. Metro Bangkok, no? We were just here, no? Yung picture namin yan with my son. This is taken from the Metro Bangkok office. They have a huge scale model, tapos they have a lot of plans, no? Nandun. Coordinated siya, no? Bangkok serves as a tourism and air transport hub for all of Thailand. Efficient infrastructure. Ito yung river nila, no? We rode it. Very promising sana for Pasig River and yung sa ibang towns natin. Strong tourism circuits, clear branding. No, next slide. Vietnam, no, we were here lang din. Dual metropolis siya, nag-uusap si Ho Chi Minh tsaka si Hanoi. So each city has complementary siya, no? Hindi siya nagko-compete. The reason they're able to do that is because metro level yung coordination eh. To sell together, no? Balanced metropolitan growth supports tourism expansion. Next slide. Yan, Metro Tokyo. So I was just here last week, no? Yan. So this is the view from their metropolitan office, no? Sa ibabaw. I was always dream sa MMDA magkaroon nito, tapos may view ng Metro Manila. Ang ganda niya. Punta kayo ng Tokyo, you go to their metro office. Sabi ko, wala tayo mag-Disneyland. Dito na lang tayo. Stay there for almost half day. No? Alam niyo naman, yung anak ko takbo lang ng takbo yan. Talagang fascinated siya sa buildings. No? Ikot-ikot siya. That's the Metropolitan Office. Next slide. Yan. So, Tokyo, yan. They formulated their metro, 1982. The goal was to, so from multi-center, no? That was the first plan. Tapos second plan, na 1986, nag-shift na sila, no? Yung water. So, they have extensive experience with metropolitan planning. Next slide. Yan. And right now, ito, is I think the next digital twin. Yan. Sila, they, if you type in yung link na yan, you can view it. They even release all of the data, no? So anyone, when you go to Tokyo, I want the information on this, and then they have information of what's happening, no? Very real time, no? I think planning will go from long range to real time, no? As fast as. Next slide. Yan. So ito, no, yung experience ko ng real airport connection, no? Step 1 pay, kita niyo yung counter niyan. Tapos yung sa rail, very organized. Saan ko pupunta sa airport or pupunta ka sa somewhere else, in 15 minutes, nandun ka na sa rail. Nung pagbungat mo doon, wow. No? Wow. Oh. Kakaiyak. Next slide. Yan. So metropolitanization is not the problem. That was my thinking before. My mindset was, that's bad. No? It is not a problem to solve. It is the next stage of civilization. No? The metropolitan discipline seeks not to contain the metropolis, but to cultivate it. Balancing growth with ecology, efficiency with equity and intelligence and identity. From city-states to nation-states to metro-states. No? That will, humanity evolves through scales of collective intelligence. Next slide, please. Lapit na to. So I go back to the third loop. No, this was a study by a psychologist. There are 3 loops. No, the first loop is adapting thought and action within an existing framework. So sanay tayo dyan. Nasanay tayo. And then there's a trigger, like the COVID pandemic, no, that changes your paradigm. You have a paradigm shift. Second loop, you create new categories, new models to think with. Yan. You have that ngayon. It changes your mind. And the third loop No, the third loop is rethinking how to think. Ito na talaga, sentient ka na. No, you are intelligent na because you learn, no, continuously autonomous. The challenge is, I think we are stuck in the second loop. No, we are ikot-ikot lang tayo doon. No? We are parang may glass na ano siya. Aggregation, metro arrangement is easy. The integration is the goal. Next slide. Yan. So, call to action. So, this is our recent photo. Currently, we're doing metro hackathons, no, with the IMF, and our goal now is to partner with universities. Now, very aggressive kami now with the Lasal Binil, USTP. I'm in collaboration kasi we believe that the knowledge, the metropolitan discipline should be housed, no, in institutions, no, and then yung mga young generations maintindihan na simula pa lang, no. We invite architects, planners, data scientists, policymakers, and citizens to join in shaping an emerging field. Let us build the world's first generation of metropolitan thinkers and practitioners guided by science, grounded by design, and inspired by a collective purpose. Next slide, please. Thank you so much. Gandang umaga po sa inyo lahat.
All right, thank you very much, Architect Mark Roland De Castro. Another hand, please, ladies and gentlemen. On the topic, metropolitan issues and rapid urbanization. And for sure, many of you, of our participants right here can relate on that. Right now, Ms. Chris, we're gonna have the Q&A, or the question and answer portion.
So I think this is the generation na sinasabi ni Architect. Integration is integrated intelligence, and integration is the goal. Okay?
So, to all of you, we actually have 2 microphones, one on each side. So when you approach the microphone for you to have your question, just introduce yourself, please, and then your question to Architect Mark Roland De Castro.
To start siguro, kung habang ang iba po ay magpe-prepare ng question, Architect, tanong ko lang po, for the metropolises in the Philippines, meron na po bang successfully na talagang na-sustain or they really pursued the being metropolis? We have Metro Naga, Metro Manila, Metro Davao, Metro Cebu, and the other metro.
Thank you for that question. So, if we're talking about metro arrangement, so we have a lot of very good practices. Yeah, Metro Naga, we have when you talk of integration, there is really none. But the good thing right now is we have to learn we have the MMDA. I think in terms of a successful one, the long and short answer is no, none. No, but there are patches that we can. I really highlight yung collective intelligence. No, it's really a track that we really need to understand yung management. And I think the good time now is because yung tools that are available. No, yung digital twin, I think, kasi the complexity niya, the larger it gets, no, the more complex it becomes. So yung skills and yung management, dapat sasabay siya. So I think, I'm hopeful.
So from the plenary, yes, we have a question. Sir, may microphone po. Ayun.
Magandang umaga po. Ray Ramos from TUP. Architect Mark, my question is, we commend your presentation, but on the other hand, on how we could improve the current responsibilities of MMDA instead of coming up with a new administrative unit. Ano ba yung meron ang MMDA that could be comparative to a future metropolitan agency or metropolitan unit? That's the second. And I'm a civil engineer and then ENP. When I look at the presentation, it's more on the physical and spatial planning, but how we could incorporate environmental aspect of that metropolitan unit. So paano po natin ma-integrate yung environment? We appreciate the spatial, no? But how the environmental management or conservation that will be employed on that metropolitan concept of settlement? Thank you.
Thank you, Sir Ray. So let me focus on the second question. So the environment side, again, I had a paradigm shift before metropolitanization, damage to the environment, and so forth. No, but if we do not manage that development, I think that's where the problem arises. And I was having a discussion now with Professor Serote. Ang dami talagang discussion. Ang problem niya is the 4 policy areas are not implemented. Yung settlement, production, protection, and utilities. Hindi siya delineated, and his hope is nga it's embedded in the luwa. So that we can properly delineate. When we have a metropolitan body, yun yung i-respect niya. No, yung mga AND na nagkaroon ng mga bundok na nagkaroon ng AND shouldn't have happened. No? So maraming discussions dyan. But I also would like to highlight yung cultural side. Kasi talagang that's important, especially tribal tayo. We are really a collective society. Mahilig tayo. What I realized when I visited Tokyo, yung culture nila, samurai, may samurai impact. No? Long culture of samurai na yung high integrity, high efficiency, high action-oriented and so forth. No? So naging foundation siya, naging root siya of how they implemented the metropolis in Tokyo. Because also, marami kasi mga samurai areas, no? So I think mga 40% if I'm not mistaken. So culturally, that's also a factor. Ang kailangan natin ma-realize now is from our culture, from deep within our culture, ano ba yung form? No? This is not all, ito na yun, no? Ito yung gagawin natin and so forth. It's really a process of learning for us. No? I have to, as a people, no? As a Filipino people, what is the culture behind? No? What is the true form of a metropolitan na bagay sa atin, sa kultura natin? The first one, yung MMDA, the first question. So, wala akong kamulatan when Metro Manila Commission was formed, or all I learned a lot from Sir Dinky. He was my first boss, kaya ang daming kinuwento niya sa akin about the Metro Manila Commission and so forth. Sa akin, ang dating, parang is that a sneak peek, no, of what an ideal MMDA could have been, no? Commission siya na yung Ministry of Human Settlements, the foundations of planning nandito. You will know more, no? I don't know really what it was like, no? But what I see now, I think yung ipin ng MMDA, may kulang, coordination nga lang siya. Why? Because you're in the mercy of 17 kings, no? At the end of the day, why will a mayor follow the reality? So in IMF, we have an approach now we call the Metro Chess approach. Not all mayors should be kings. No? You have to understand, a chessboard with all king, you'll not win, no? You'll not move forward. You have to understand, merong king, that's the historical part, no? That's Manila. No? Being Manila, you have the heritage, may identity ka na. The queen is Pasay, no? Because sumubay ka, that's where the airport is. You're the gateway. Queen, dapat maganda. No? Yung pagdating mo, smiling, that's a queen. It's also the most powerful piece. Pasay has to understand that you're not history. No? You are the gateway. You are dapat maganda yung harap mo. Then you have the bishop, the horse, the rook, and so forth. So lahat siya may roles. So the challenge now is the mayors, I can imagine magkakaharap dyan si Mayor Isko, si Mayor siyempre lahat yan. So MMDA being a coordination body, talagang is challenging. So what we've learned with the IMF, global best practice nila, it's the way of talking to the mayors. Mayor, okay lang maging queen. Okay lang maging rook. No? Because you have a role sa chessboard. The ultimate goal is to win, no? Is to preserve the environment, to develop the infrastructure, to work as one. No? Strategy siya, at least yung language of, yung parochial kasi, no? Pagka sa akin itong airport, pag ililipat ng airport, hindi, mag-aagawan niya, etc. Yung bishop is very critical. No? What we learned from Metro Clark, ang bishop is where madaling ma-access during emergencies. Yan. No? If you're a town na pagka may emergency, dapat yun yung goal mo. Dapat may ready yung water, power, etc. etc. You cannot be banking on historical, or you cannot be a gateway. No? Claro. No? So, ayan, hope that answers your question, Sir Ray.
Thank you so much for the question and the answer from our speaker. Any other questions po from the plenary?
On this side, please, if we have questions on this side.
Meron pa po ba? Okay. Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah. Meron si Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Nakakatakot ito. Ngayon nga.
We have two. If we can give the microphone, please. Thank you very much. We have one microphone right here.
Hi, good morning. I'm Cora Cruz, now member of the Board of Environmental Planning, but before I used to be the Assistant General Manager for Planning of the Metro Manila Development Authority for long years. Gusto ko lang mag-react, or I'd like to cite some realities, no, about metropolitanization. As mentioned by our esteemed speaker, the historical evolution of metropolitanization started way back in 1975. A very powerful organization, Metro Manila Commission, comprised of 17 political units. At that time, it works. No, it works because it all depends on the leadership. But after the upheaval in 1986, nagkaroon ng bagong constitution, nagkaroon ng local government code, 7160, and then yung very powerful MMC, naging emasculated Metro Manila Authority, where lahat ng mayors na yan, mag-e-elect sila ng chairman. Yung chairman, every 6 months lang. So every 6 months, nag-iiba yung chair ng Metropolitan Authority. Buti na lang yung Kongreso, na they realize that, ba't ganito? Very poor ang coordination, naging stinking ang Metro Manila because yung garbage collection, nagtuturuan sa manggagaling ang budget. So, nagkaroon ng law, yung Metropolitan Manila Development Authority. But sad to say, coordination pa rin, no? Ano yung co-coordinate namin? Traffic, solid waste, shelter services, hindi nakastipulate doon yung land use, no? So, it's kind of frustrating, no? But, kaya nasasabi ko na it depends on leadership, on how we will deliver. When Bayani Fernando took over in 2003, I was doon ako naging Assistant General Manager for Planning. And everybody, the entire country knew that Bayani is a mechanical engineer. He's a technical man. And he's an action man. So, at that time, nung director pa lang ako, we were trying to facilitate yung creation of the Regional Development Council in Metro Manila kasi lahat na meron except for NCR. So during the time of then President Fidel Ramos, we were trying to negotiate. So we submitted a proposed executive order sa Malacanang na elected chair. So wala. Hindi nangyari yon kasi pagka Nung una, may mga proposition na elected governor. All the more. Kasi ang contention, pag naging, when you become the governor of Metro Manila, you'll be the next president of the Philippines. So wala, taas kilay sila. So, ano yan, hindi nag-succeed sa Malacanang. So, when Chairman Abalos, history na to, no? Chairman Abalos took over, that's the time that I became the AGM for planning. Nag-draft ulit kami ng executive order. So, yung draft na yon, yung chair ng MMDA will be the concurrent chair of the Regional Development Council with the 17 LGUs, voting members, and then ang mga members niya, all regional line agencies operating in Metropolitan Manila, non-voting. So apart from this, si GMA, siguro na-impress siya kay Bayani, no? Binigyan siya ng special power. Binigyan siya ng special power, being the RDC chair. Bayani, you will take over all metro significant projects in the NCR. Sabi niya, so yung lahat ng infra, yung so lahat ng projects ngayon dadaan sa RDC. So may say ngayon yung mga mayors, even the budget of the MMDA. And I could say at that time, maganda naman yung takbo. Makita nyo, walang masyadong baha noon. Hindi nagkakaroon ng mga garbage problems. Kaya ang ano ko, yung Tokyo Metropolitan Government, yung Bangkok, tama, nangopya lang sa atin yan, nung MMC. Kumopya lang sa atin. Oh, what happens?